Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk a little bit about this government national emergency scam. First though, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com where you can get all of our latest content, including my articles. I'm back to writing articles for The Mind Unleashed and for our website. All the interviews, other content, and of course subscribe to our email newsletter so you can get signed up there. And of course, follow us on minds.com/theconsciousresistance-network. And you can join our text list. All that information is below the video. Let's get right into this. The national emergency scam is what I like to call it. And you guys know what I'm referring to. It's been a few weeks now over the last month as Donald Trump has been criticized by both his own party and, of course, the opposing party for his decision to issue a national emergency over the border. And basically what this means is that he's trying to pull funding and resources from other areas of government to pay for his border wall, or at least for increased border security, calling it a national emergency. And as I said, you have people who are on the Republican side who think that this is either unconstitutional or they just think he's asking for too much money. And then, of course, the Democrats who are just basically opposing him, saying that they think it's a ridiculous move. Now, I'm not even going to get into any of that. What I want to focus on here, what I think maybe some of you guys have seen, is that when it comes to declaring emergencies, right, we have to pay attention to what a president, prime minister, any of these so-called leaders, politicians do when it sets a precedent, right? So Donald Trump has set a precedent now. He's not the first president to declare a national emergency, right? He's not, there's actually 30 previous national emergencies for other things going on. So he's not the first one to set that precedent. But he is setting a precedent in regards to, well, for one, the border and using national emergencies for such a contentious topic that the other side vehemently opposes. Now, the 30 previous national emergencies range from Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, the war on drugs, human rights violations in Venezuela, sanctions on Syria, Yemen, Libya, Sudan. I mean, all of these things that really, these national emergencies have led to making things worse. The war on drugs has become a huge epidemic, locking people up in prisons for victimless crimes, as well as creating the heroin opioid epidemic. Venezuela, of course, is being ruined because of U.S. sanctions, as well as their own socialist policies. All the other nations we listed, Libya, Iraq, Sudan, Syria, they're undergoing civil wars, or they've had their own elected leaders overthrown after the U.S. declared it a national emergency and that they must do something about it. So they don't really have that great of a track record in the first place for going after various issues based on national emergency grounds, right? But beyond that, he is now setting a precedent that you better believe is going to be used by the Democrats. In the same way that in 2011, Barack Obama passed or signed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, which codified into law indefinite detention of American citizens who are suspected of terrorism. In case you guys didn't know, in case you're new around here or only woke up recently, back in 2011, they passed a law signed by Obama and then re-signed by every administration since then, every year Obama was in office, and of course with Trump, which includes the indefinite detention portion that basically says that if they suspect you of terrorism, they can take you without trial, without jury, without even notifying your lawyer, your family, and hold you indefinitely, similar to what Bush called enemy combatants and things like that, right? So what the fear was by many people when this was going on is that, hey, Obama may not choose to use it right now, but what happens if some other president in the future comes along and says, hey, under NDA 2012 section this, I already have permission to lock you guys up and to not notify anybody and to just put you away forever, right? So Obama passed that, but that privilege, that ability is now open to Donald Trump, to any other president that comes along of any party. And that's what you have to understand. You see, the Democrats, they'll cheer something whenever it's their side doing it, like, let's get involved in your life as far as telling you how you can pay your employees, right? Or getting government involved in marriage in general, right? then the Republicans, they're happy to interfere in your life when it comes to government, when it comes to other issues, right? So my point is both sides pretend to have principles. Neither one of them have principles. And they're more than happy to use force of government, to use lies, to use corruption, whatever it takes, and to cover their own asses, but to attack the other side whenever they use the same tactics. Do you get what I'm saying here? So if Donald Trump is willing to issue a national emergency over the Republican right-wing issue of the border, what will the Democrats be willing to issue a national emergency for? Well, we don't have to look too far for that answer. It was shortly reported after this whole mess started back in February that Nancy Pelosi warned the Republicans that a Democratic president could declare gun violence a national emergency. She warned Republicans that a future Democratic president could do this. She also said the same thing about climate change. She says, you want to talk about a national emergency? Let's talk about today, referring to the anniversary of the Parkland shootings, and basically says that he's setting a precedent that if a Democratic president wants to come in there, they can do the same thing on issues that the Republicans might not think are important, but that the Democrats do. Now, at the end of the day, look, this is the reality, and I think most of you who are deep into this understand this. This is all a show. This is all a freaking charade, right? So we have to ask ourselves, what is the goal of the charade? Why do they go back and forth, right? Even if the individual people think that they're serving opposite interests, at the end of the day, they all work for, are funded by, and participate in a system that is controlled by an oligarchy, a small group of people in the United States and abroad who manipulate world events for their own purposes, right? So advancing control of our lives via guns, via the environment, via the borders, is all a part of their game. So it may seem like these two people, Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump, Republicans, Democrats, left, right, blue, red, etc., are against each other. But at the end of the day, these people are serving very similar interests, the very same interests, whether they consciously know it or not. They might just be useful idiots. So think about this. Donald Trump says there's a national emergency on the border, and he wants to take money from somewhere else to secure the border. Now, whether or not we think that securing the border is a valid issue, I do think that there are valid concerns. As I've said before, the border is being used as a way to put more control, more of the surveillance state along the borders. They're going to have automatic license plate readers, facial recognition cameras, biometric armed guards, a digital smart wall, in addition to a physical wall. That's where this is all going, right? So they say it's about protecting us from immigration, border security, but it's really about control. And then jump over to the other side, and they say that they want to help out the U.S. and the people by declaring an emergency on gun violence and on the climate and climate change. Well, those who have dug into these areas know that that's not the true end goal. Again, maybe the people pushing it, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy Pelosi, maybe they think that they're fighting for gun violence and keeping the children safe, or fighting against climate change and for the future of the children. But at the end of the day, they are serving larger interests, either useful idiots or knowingly. And that means more control, loss of gun rights, loss of freedoms due to protecting the environment, loss of freedom to travel due to stopping illegal immigration, a security state around the border due to stopping immigration. All of these things advance the goals of the oligarchy and of the people in control. More control, less freedom, more division, more fear. And this is why you need to see that this national emergency thing is a scam. It really is a scam. And if Donald Trump is willing to use it, and you guys on his side, right wing, whatever you call yourself, cheer it on because you either hate the left so bad or because you've been so duped into believing that there's such a need for this border emergency, the other side will fall for it too. When the Democratic presidents come in and say, oh, you think you can do that? Look at what we can do, like a bunch of little kids. The other side is going to be like, yes, our side is using executive privilege, whether legal or unconstitutional, who the hell cares, because we're getting what we want. We're getting border security. We're getting control of guns. We're getting plans for the environment. It doesn't matter by what any means it comes. If your side can do it, my side can do it too. It's all a big scam. It's all a big lie. This is why you need to realize that the problem is a belief in authority, a belief in worship in government and other authority figures, rejecting that, opting out of those systems, moving into the counter economy, taking back your money, taking back your food, taking back your skills, meeting with your neighbors, connecting locally, building, growing, healing yourself, healing your own trauma, and letting go of this bullshit game is the only answer. Anything less than that is just going to serve the same old ends, keep these people in control. So I hope you guys will think about that. Till next time, remember, you're powerful, you're beautiful, and you're free. Peace.